everyone, welcome back to another Anorexia Talks video. Today I'm going to be talking about blame. Specifically, who's to blame for your eating disorder, or who's to blame for an eating disorder that develops in someone. So there's a few different things that go into this, and the first thing is obviously rooted back to genetics. So if you or an ancestor at some point in your family had this predisposition to an addictive personality or some type of unhealthy relationship with food or mental illness, because eating disorders, let's not forget, are a mental illness with physical side effects, not the other way around. This can be in a specific person's genome, and then they can develop these tendencies later through life. But just because something's in your genome doesn't mean you're going to develop that issue in life. So this is where the nurture part comes into play, and how you were raised, whoever raised you, and or who you grew up with. Some people grow up in an environment where they don't have a healthy relationship with food because either, their parents or whoever's raising them doesn't have a healthy relationship with food, or maybe they were overweight as a kid, so whoever was raising them encouraged them to eat less. And then also the exercise component, they could be raised to have been taught to be overactive or make up for certain meals that they've had, or some type of tendency that they've learned from the people who have raised them or the people around them. But this doesn't all lie on the parents or the guardians of the child or the specific person. It also encompasses who they grow up around. So siblings and also friends. In my life, at least, my parents weren't home a lot, so I don't want to say I was kind of raised by my friends, but I learned a lot of things from watching other people who I went to school with or who my brother went to school with, and watching their tendencies and their relationships with things. And then I either decided, oh, I want that type of relationship, or oh, I don't want that type of relationship. And friend groups that hang out all the time and kind of end up having each other's mannerisms and things like that. And that's just because, especially at a younger age when you're more impressionable, you pick up more things, and you start to develop habits that are similar to other people around you. Any type of neglectful behavior that you were taught from a young age, or restrictive behavior or addictive behavior that you were taught from a young age, can manifest later in life as an eating disorder, because, again, as I said, eating disorders are mental illnesses that have all of these traits. Now, what else goes into blame? Well, let's take a look at social media and any type of media that a child had access to, like a TV show with someone who was skinny or made jokes about food or eating or dieting or exercising, maybe a social media influencer or someone they follow on Instagram. All of these things can add up depending on how the person looks up to a specific idol, whether they're in real life or through a screen. Even if it's just a character that someone played, a lot of the times you can't really decipher between that person's actual personality and the character that they're playing. And this is definitely an issue, because nowadays stars on TV and TV shows are looked at as more human, in the sense of we can connect to them differently because we can follow them on social media and potentially reach out to them on social media, but we still forget that what we know them for is just a character that they play. And I'm sure you have too, come across plenty of jokes on social media and plenty of TV shows where it's either alluded to or outright said that women should be drinking the diet soda, and just little things. I pick up on all of these things that, if a woman goes out to eat, it's like she always has to get the diet. So from a young age, I think, shown to us as women specifically to be careful about what we eat, and men too, but more so women. And then the last thing is just society in general. I did a whole thing on Photoshop and body image and body dysmorphia, and that, I would say, almost 90% stems directly from all of these things that we see like models and fitness influencers and things like that who have these unrealistic images that we try to live up to. So I think to blame, to summarize, it's really just a melting pot of all of these things. Of course there's a genetic component, but everything else is the nurture side, and nurture side is not limited to the parents or the guardians, but also everyone they've been exposed to in their life, including people through a screen or through a medium that they wouldn't ever be able to relate to in real life. One of the main reasons I did this video is because there's so many times that I'm doing research on anorexia and eating disorders, and I see articles about who's to blame, and I remember during my experience, pretty much everyone around me was like, why are you doing this to yourself, and why are you choosing to do this, and you know, this is your fault because this is what you chose to do. But you couldn't blame me for that. I started off with a healthy mindset, and then anorexia just kind of took over. So you can never blame someone for a mental illness. You wouldn't blame someone for being schizophrenic, you wouldn't blame someone for being bipolar, you wouldn't blame someone for any of those things. It's not their choice. They don't want to be this way. All of these things that I've discussed go into what's to blame for the eating disorder, and not the victim. It's not their fault. It's not something that can be chosen. So it's really important to remember that. You know, how do we deal with this? You know, you say, okay, Julia, you've laid out all of the issues here, and you've said it's genetic and it's nature and nurture and society and people on television and social media. But now how do we combat this issue? Well, I think that if we start to just raise more awareness about it, because obviously we cannot get rid of social media influencers. They have to make a living too. We can't get rid of TV shows, but we can get rid of this stigma. We can get rid of the jokes in television that make it seem like women have to be skinny. We can get rid of the behavior, the joking behavior around eating disorders in general. It's not something that you should ever joke about. It's a very serious issue, and we can continue to talk about it and just raise the discussion and raise awareness and get more people to talk about it. And then that's when things will change. When you can't just sit here and watch my video and listen to me. Like, you have to tell someone. You should share the information, because that is what's going to make a difference, and that's what's going to help all of these blame factors kind of diminish. I hope that this video helps to relieve some pressure off those who may be blaming themselves for their eating disorder. And if any parents or friends are watching and blaming themselves, don't, because it's not your fault, and you can be part of the solution if you just take into consideration what I've said today. I hope you take the time and just share this information. If you like the content, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos every week, please subscribe. And then, of course, if you have any comments, don't hesitate to reach out to me on social media. Leave comments with your thoughts and a question that you have. Please, please, please ask. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you again next week.